Hey guys, it's Angela from CreatiKnit, and today I wanted to tell you 10 things I would tell my new knitter self when first starting out learning to knit. Now, I remember when I was beginning, there were a lot of these little tidbits that I didn't know, and so hopefully these are little pointers that are going to be able to help you if you're just starting on your own knitting journey. So, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so let's say you're knitting and you're knitting along and all of a sudden you run out of yarn. It's okay. Don't worry. Just get more. And I can show you exactly how you can join in new yarn by clicking on my link right here. So just remember, if you do run out of yarn, it's not a big deal. I remember as a beginner, I would run out of yarn and think it was the end of the world, but it's actually not. Just get new yarn and you'll be okay. Topic number 2 is going to be when you are doing a project, you want to make sure to buy plenty of yarn in the same dye lot. So what this means is that if you think you're going to need 1, maybe 1.5 skeins for your project, buy 2 just to be safe. So what is a dye lot? Okay, a dye lot is the number that you're going to see right there where it says lot, and that is going to tell you exactly the number that this skein of yarn was dyed in the factory, because all of the colors that the skeins are dyed in have slightly different color tones. So if you buy one lot one time and then you go buy another lot another time, chances are the colors are going to be a little off. And that, my friends, is dye lot. Okay, so number 3, the third thing I would tell my new knitter self, is that when you go to buy yarn and you're just starting out, you don't have to buy cheap yarn just because it's inexpensive and you want to try it. Remember, you're going to be working with this yarn a lot, and you're going to be dealing with a lot of frustrations, especially if you're a new knitter. So you want to make sure you get something that's pretty to look at and that's a really good quality yarn, because then you're going to be able to work it over your needles a lot nicer. So now on to number 4. You want to make sure to have lots of lotions and potions. Now, you want to have a lot of these lotions because when you're working with the yarn and it's running through your fingers over and over, your hands are going to dry out. The fibers in your yarn are going to soak up the natural moisture in your fingers, and your hands are going to get dry. So you're going to need to have something handy in order to keep your hands hydrated. So any fun lotion, something that smells good, will work too. Okay, so you ready for number 5? Number 5 is a big one. You always want to make sure to check your gauge. It is really important as a new knitter because you're learning your tension and you haven't quite developed your yarn tension the way, when you knit things up, how tight or how loose it's going to be. And that's going to be really important to know your gauge, because that's going to give you the right size for your projects. Now, I've heard a lot of new knitters say, oh, I don't need to check my gauge, or I'm just going to make it and see what happens. But if you're doing things like sweaters or hats or things that require sizing, it's going to be really important. So you want to get a gauge tool that is going to let you measure your stitches. So this is a really good one to have in your knitting bag. That way you know exactly what your gauge is. It's not a little thing. You need to check your gauge. Now on to number 6. As a new knitter, you want to have a row counter with you at all times. This row counter is going to be your best friend, because what it does is it has a little turn dial-y thingy here, and that helps you. I don't know if you can see that. And the numbers will change, and that will help you keep track of your rows. Now, I've heard people say they think they can keep track of it, or that they'll just remember, but trust me, you'll forget, and you'll get busy doing something, and you'll completely forget which row you were on. Okay, so the 7th thing I would tell my new knitter self is that you don't have to save all your scraps when you are done working on a project and you have these little bitty scraps you cut off from your thing. You don't have to save them all. You think you do, and you can save some, but you don't have to save every single scrap, because I'll tell you why. All of these little scraps will turn into this. So my advice would be, toss the scraps. Okay, now for number 8, stitch markers. So you want to have plenty on hand, because trust me, you're gonna lose them. I've lost them in the couch, I've lost them in chairs, on the floor. Sometimes they grow legs and they crawl away. And you can get really cute ones that are made out of polymer clay, and you can get all kinds of little designs and amigurumis. You can get these little porcelain ones. So just go out and get some knitting jewelry, as it's called, and buy lots and lots of stitch markers. Now, number 9 is going to be, as a new knitter, it's okay to talk to yourself. You don't look crazy. As a new knitter, you're going to be counting and you're going to be saying your stitches and doing your rhymes. Go through the front door, around the back. But if you have the knitting needles in your hand and your yarn, people won't think you're crazy. If you didn't have that stuff in your hand, maybe. And last but not least, the 10th thing I would tell myself, my new knitter self. Join a community. A community is a place where you can go online, or you could join a local knitting group. But online, there's a lot of resources. You have Ravelry. You can join some forums there. You can ask questions. You can go to CreatiKnit.com. You can go to all kinds of knitting communities and forums where you can ask other experienced knitters some questions that you have. And I found that that was a really good resource when I was first starting out, is being able to go online and ask people questions that I had about, you know, this or that. And YouTube is another great source. If you're not sure about a certain type of stitch, type it into the YouTube search bar and chances are somebody's done a tutorial on it. Okay, so there you have it, guys. That was 10 things that I would tell my new knitter self. So I hope this helped you, and I hope it's going to help you to become that awesome superwoman knitter that you are. All right, so there you have it. 10 things that I would have told myself when I was first starting out. So I hope this helped you, and thanks for watching, and have a wonderful knitting day.